Hello everybody, I'm Mango Thunderslice, and today's video is, oh no, President Trump gets coronavirus, the China virus, and only has a 99.74% chance of survival, right? It's a dire situation. And of course, you know, the people who have at least a modicum of class, you know, are at least wishing him well. Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, I'll at least give them credit for that. Or their handlers, you know, whoever's in charge of their social media, that at least, you know, it's like Trump did with, you know, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Like, you know, I believe that Trump actually did, you know, respect her as an accomplished woman. Obviously, there's disagreements, but I don't get the sense that Trump at any point would have celebrated her death. Obviously, there are things on a conservative position we like about that opening, but ultimately, you don't celebrate a person's death. And, you know, even I might not, you know, automatically just praise people as soon as they die, like, you know, John McCain as well as Ruth Bader Ginsburg, right? But I also don't celebrate their death. You know, I think it's a very dark aspect of a personality and a person when they celebrate people's deaths. You know, again, there's very bad people in the world, and, you know, some of those we can all be a little bit more excused. Right, a lot of those people think that Trump is one of those guys. They literally, you know, some of these people, these wackadoodles who have been, you know, infused with the propaganda and steeped in that Rachel Maddow mind virus for so long, you know, they really think that, like, this is, like, the rise of the Third Reich, and the MAGA hats are the new, swastika or whatnot. You know, people are really deep into the program, and, you know, even the people that are in the middle and don't really pay close attention to politics, you know, kind of the normies and the moderates, right, they're still influenced by it because they still don't realize that the media is absolute fraud and propaganda, and that there's not even a shred of actual news and journalism in the sense that we used to think of the word, as in people actually investigating stories and breaking information to the general public and performing that public service of keeping people informed of what's happening. It's an absolutely crucial and critical part of civilization. And to the extent that it gets hijacked and interrupted, is we introduce distortions into the wider economy. Just like when we take, you know, drugs in our body, right, legal or illegal, it modifies the chemistry of the body, right? It might achieve a desired effect, but it also has undesired effects, and has, consequences that either were not foreseen or were, you know, not anticipated in some other way. And so, you know, it's, same thing with the economy, too. We try and jiggle the economy and stimulate it and, you know, control interest rates and control exchange rates and all these things. And ultimately, yes, it has the desired effect in the short term sometimes, you know, but in the other, like, longer sense, it introduces distortions. And so, you know, the only real coherent view of nature and reality and everything in this universe is as an organic fractal system that has a universal structure, and to the extent that we work within that structure, we achieve beneficial results. To the extent that we ignore that structure and try and pretend that it's all just material bumping particles, a random chance, you know, rather than an intelligent system with a perfect design, you know, we get results in line with that. We get people just being miserable, being aimless, being physically infirm, being poor and weak in general. And, you know, not just physically and financially, but also spiritually. They're devoid of power and life force. And so you see people who are really just broken. The left is really just a set of mostly broken people. And, you know, there's the establishment liberals, which probably wouldn't think of themselves as broken people. They probably just think of themselves as caring people, as people who just care about people, and that's why they want these various things. You know, but often enough, people and what they say they want for others and what they actually want is, you know, depending on the demeanor of the person, there's layers of deception and there's layers of falsity and, you know, just masks that people wear. And that's because, you know, we don't exactly live in a purely organic and harmonious system. We live in a matrix. We live in an artificial structure. And we don't all agree on everything. And so we've devised these systems, right, which we in general call government, to basically sort out differences. And, you know, if there's ever going to be a replacement for the government, it's just going to be in providing a better service for that decision-making and arbitration process. But for now, we definitely don't agree on almost anything, let alone everything. So, we have this structure to help us decide and make sure that we can all at least, abide by those rules and have a coherent civilization where we're not blowing each other up. But, so, and that's why, people say we're in a cold civil war right now, the beginnings of a cold civil war, because, yes, there's violence in the streets, but primarily this is about a almost fight to the death struggle to control the levers of power, the reins of the government and the state. And, primarily, if people were honest with themselves, it's very clear, at least to my eyes, that one side, the blue team really just goes out of its way to position itself as if it cares about everything and everyone and everything, and it's all just basically altruism and that deep emotional concern for others that is really the underlying principle. But it's like it's like a corporation that's corrupt and then introduces this kind of superficial donation to various organization. It's like, the people who are doing the most corrupt things often want to paint the biggest picture in the public, for a nice alliteration, of basically their of their benevolence. Again, that virtue signal. They are signaling that they are virtuous so that they will get praise from others, right? What Jesus said was, help people and be, benevolent unto the world, but do not do things and expect, and do it for the purpose of seeking praise, right? Those who do good things for seeking praise are not necessarily doing good at all. They're just distracting from a greater evil. And, same thing with the climate, right? The people who absolutely hate the human race, they think that childbirth is an abomination rather than a miracle. They think that basically even the exhalations that I am breathing right now is a poison unto the atmosphere and causing global warming and a climate crisis. Totally fallacious worldview, but very real psychologically. It's, again, the schizophrenic person. Doesn't matter whether you think their hallucinations are real. The fact is they are hallucinating and they think they are real. And you've got to be prepared for what they might do under the influence of such hallucinations. And that is what we're facing. We have a mass hallucination induced by the media, deliberately induced by the media. For those, I'm sure all of you are pretty much on that level by now, but the idea that some of the candy-ass people on the right, the conservative ink types, are just like, oh, it's just the media's just incompetent and blah, 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 and they just want socialism. Like, there's a little bit more to it. It's about basically fracturing the human mind and the psyche, and this is what Hollywood has perfected, right, in a big way, with the movies that we have, are deliberate fracturing of the mind and archetype formation, synthetic archetype formation for the purpose of emulation in psychology, basically meaning that monkey see, monkey do. People, they see the movie and they see the show and they hear the song and they do the things. They may not, it's not like, 100%, but when people are in alpha wave and they take suggestions as a command, it pretty much is. It's like a pneumatic actuator. They become like a machine. They become a tool of another person. And that is what the left are. They're just, again, BLM, Bolshevik lives malleable, just people being just corralled and pushed around. And the funny thing is, these Antifa people, they think that they're actually just the highest moral good. They are doing, like, the service of God, except they don't believe in God, right? Which elucidates exactly what's going on. They're actually serving Satan. And, but they really feel that they're fighting the Third Reich and defeating this evil that needs to be stopped. Again, mass hallucination. And the people, the people controlling the strings, they know that Trump isn't actually Hitler, but they also know that he is a threat to their system, right? He is, as many have elucidated with the metaphor, he's the bull in the china shop of all of their illusions, not necessarily breaking the government per se at every turn, but, he is breaking the illusions and the conventions that people used in their mind. That hot air, that decorum that Barack Obama had and Joe Biden was trying to have in the debates is basically, it's designed to basically just hypnotize people and to take them away from a critical thinking mindset. And so, yes, Trump has coronavirus. it is basically, maybe now all the people on the left, the liberals, will basically do some actual research on what the actual fatality is right now and realize, oh wait, there's literally a 0.26 chance percent, of this actually taking out the president. And even then, that's, as we've talked about many times, the idea that this is just a probabilistic universe and, it's all just random chance. And so, these probabilities really matter when it comes to, you and dying from coronavirus, because it's all just random and we're all just playing a giant game of Russian roulette. Like, it's not true. It's a deterministic universe. There is free will. It's a dimensional interface. And basically, your choices determine your outcome, not random chance, right? Nothing is random. And the people who believe in random chance are the people who do not believe in God, by definition. Mathematically, if there's intelligence in the universe, it means that there is an organizing force that takes us away from that random probability, and it takes us to a defined, coherent outcome, right? So whether or not you believe any of the stories in the Bible or the Quran or the Torah or, the Bhagavad Gita or, basically any other spiritual text, irrelevant. The fundamental axiomatic difference between an atheist and a believer in God is whether or not you believe this universe is governed by material and random chance, and thus there's no meaning or purpose, and those who basically see a coherent message and meaning and purpose to it all. And, there are definitely, of course, arguments on both sides, but there's really only one truth, and the truth is that there's perfect order in the universe. So, that being said, in relation to COVID, your choices will determine your outcome. Even if you're old, even if you're in your 80s and you have comorbidities, still the vast majority of people with COVID survive. Okay, so it's really not even remotely as close to a deadly disease as we were told initially. There were a lot of deaths at the beginning, primarily in areas of very elderly people who were already very sick. You got to understand too, again, it's not like all old people are equally unhealthy. They, look at just Trump and Biden for an example, but they, whether or not you live in an electromagnetically stagnant environment, whether or not you've eaten shitty food for your whole life, whether or not you actually have meaning and purpose and, are maintaining neural plasticity into your elder years by keeping your brain active, right? Again, look at the difference between Trump and Biden. Trump, may not be like the smartest man on earth. I think that he is a very high IQ individual. But the point is, he's active. He's still playing the game of life. He's still engaged in this world and thinking and acting on the fly. Biden, he might have been semi-intelligent back in the day, but he has turned off his brain for the last 4 or 5 years. He's just been a puppet of the establishment. He's always been a puppet of the establishment, but now it's basically he's just like literally a physical sock puppet, and he doesn't do any thinking. He doesn't do any acting. He is just like, it's Weekend at Bernie's, right? For those that don't know, it's a movie where guys basically have to pretend that this old guy is alive when he's really dead. And so they dress him up and they walk him around and stuff, and it's basically what they've been doing with Biden. But the point is that's not conducive to maintaining neuroplasticity, of keeping the brain active. And that really matters when it comes to longevity. If we have a purpose, if we have a reason to live, we will live at any age. Basically, of course, there's a time when we all come to leave this world, but the people who live the longest are those who had the most purpose, right? And it's hard for materialists because when they get old, most of the, most older people, they start losing their friends die off, and it's very depressing for them. And so if your really only purpose in life was just sort of material entertainment and social, environs, then you get in your old age and all your friends start dying. It's just like it really saps your own will to live. But if you have a will to live that is attached to a higher and cosmic purpose that never dies, but is just a fire that keeps on burning through the night, then it is very easy to live a long time, because not only will you have that purpose, every day that you're waking up, but it influences all of your other decision making. You have an impulse and impetus to eat healthy, to exercise, to keep the body in a good condition, because it is a fractal manifestation of the universe, aka the temple, right? And so, Trump may not probably have the best diet in the world, but it clearly can't be the worst diet. I mean, he's a big boy, he's reputed to enjoy steak and ice cream, which, basically is probably not wonderful. But, the point is his energy level sort of belies that something has been going right well enough in his world and in his diet. But, I think that really the will to live matters even more than the diet at a certain point. I think that he does, of course, have the best doctors in the world, or at least some of them around him. Hopefully he has the ear of people who know more than just the big pharma paradigm. Hopefully he knows that dexamethasone, which he is supposedly considering taking as an anti-inflammatory, he should know that CBD, proven by his Israeli friends at Hebrew University, that basically CBD is over twice as effective as dexamethasone as controlling inflammation in COVID clinical trials, right? So Trump, take some CBD, bro. Take some colloidal silver, right? Aerosolized colloidal silver. Honestly, think of an alternate timeline where at the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic, people basically, it was mass distributed colloidal silver, a mister and aerosolizer, right? There's a product, I think it's called Silver Mist, and it's like a nebulizer for colloidal silver, and so it enables you to inhale essentially vaporous colloidal silver and to deal with a respiratory infection, right? Apparently it's very effective for lots of other respiratory infections, and I believe that it would be very effective against coronavirus. There is a very heavy effort by Big Pharma to discredit colloidal silver, but it is only because it really is a total. If people were to understand colloidal silver en masse, it would knock out like a good 15 to 20% of Big Pharma's revenue. Like, I would say that's a conservative estimate, because if you can control infection for pennies using just colloidal ionic suspension of silver particles in water, it's literally more effective than the strongest antibiotics, but it does not wreck the body and the microflora, the probiotics, the way that antibiotics do, right? They literally mean anti-life, and you're taking something in your body that is anti-life, antibiotics, and that's what gave me migraines for over 10 years, because they destroyed my gut flora as a kid by giving me a whole bunch of unnecessary antibiotics. But colloidal silver, if you take a lot of it, it will have a mild inhibitory effect on the positive gut flora. But due to the difference in ionic charge between endemic beneficial cells and microorganisms within the body and those that are pathogenic, they have a different electrical charge. And silver actually is targeting the ones that are foreign, the ones that have that electrical charge, I believe a positive electrical charge. In any case, it's selective, and it's not just this wholesale, essentially genocide of the probiotics in your gut. And again, whereas even the oldest, like largest volume antibiotics are still, pharmaceuticals, and thus, they have their expense and you need insurance, blah, blah, blah. You can make colloidal silver in your house. You can, if you don't want to, you can go down to Vitamin Shop or even Whole Foods, and they've got it in the supplement section. Just ask the person about colloidal silver and they will know where it is. Well, they should, if they know what they're doing. And they've worked at the store for more than 3 days. But in any case, Trump will be fine. The left has, revealed its face. It's interesting because I guess, Steve Mnuchin, I guess, and Mike Pence have tested negative, but they technically, maybe they're in the incubation period. And, I guess Mnuchin met with Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi like yesterday or something, or on Wednesday. So, I mean, again, even as much as I disagree with them, I don't wish them any harm, but it would be kind of funny and insane if basically the entire, top level leadership on both sides basically just got coronavirus. And at the same time, that would definitely be right up there with 2020. Have I not told you, brothers, that irony is what governs the universe more than gravity? It is what is most ironic to happen at any given time, right? And this has got to be the most ironic time. Literally right after the first debate, and right as they were trying to, get out of the second and third debates because of, the chaos and the shit show of the first one, it's just, it could not be more ironic. And again, I The only reason why I would expect Chuck and Nancy to get infected too is because it would be extremely ironic, and I think that makes it more likely to happen. So we will see. Again, I hope people use this as a moment to recognize that coronavirus is not a deadly disease. It's deadly if you're already near death, but then again, so is everything else. So, have health, have wealth, and do not fear death, because that is the way of the people of God. And death is just a doorway and an illusion anyway, right? So do not mourn those who die, who are old and have lived a full life and have a family left behind who loves and cares for them. Weep for the people who live without purpose and for those who die without cause because of the stupid decisions of people who do not care about them and yet, for whatever reason, are ensconced within positions of power, such as all those who have died because of suicide and drug addiction and preventable accidents and heart disease and cancer. All of these things we can fix. Again, 200,000 deaths, 200,000 deaths. It sounds like a lot, until you realize basically in the world of statistics, when you're dealing with huge numbers that you used to think were huge aren't that huge, right? 687,000 or so die from heart disease every year. Around 500,000 or 600,000 die from cancer last year in the United States, right? Almost 200,000 died from accidents, just, falling piano type things. And so again, should we ban pianos just because they might fall on somebody and cause, 169 preventable accidents? Swimming pools are hundreds of times more likely to kill children. Not kill, that would imply agency, but kids are, many orders of magnitude more likely to die by falling into a swimming pool than by getting a hold of a handgun that their parents left out. Right, so again, should we ban swimming pools? Should we lock down all the rec centers and the YMCA's and shut down all the pools because somebody might fall in? No, we have to live with consciousness. We have to live with intent and look after our, fellow human beings. Be our brother's keeper. That's what the man said. And, excuse me, that is, not only the way to live that will allow us to live and thrive, but it is also the way to be happy. It's a way to have meaning. And, hopefully this does, I think this will lead to sympathy for Trump. Not a very but I think that the disgusting nature of wishing harm on people, I think, is very revealing to people in the middle who aren't necessarily, addled on that leftism and political ideology. I guess the tweets that Trump were last night, where he said that he and Melania have tested positive, was the most liked and most shared tweet he had ever posted, right? Because, for obvious reasons, people were, sharing it in one sense, yes, and they were celebrating it. And, they're sick people. Literally, they're spiritually sick, they're physically sick. And so for them, yes, coronavirus is deathly, afraid, they are deathly afraid of it, because they know that they are infirm, they are weak, they are, inferior when it comes to the actual cellular structure of their body. And again, this is about a dimensional struggle. It's about choices. When you choose to be a slave, when you choose to be in a poisonous environment, then you will reap the whirlwind. You will reap the consequences. But when you choose to remove yourself from the levels of hell, and you place yourself within the kingdom of heaven, and you build that structure, and you build that kingdom and castle, then you will reap that whirlwind as well, and you will reap those consequences. And so that is why, blessings to the Trump family, all prayers to the president, and again, I hope that out of this COVID thing, it seems like the distrust of vaccines is higher than ever. And, it's hilarious. Even people that support the traditional vaccine regime, are questioning the COVID vaccine. It will keep rolling. We will, homeschooling, alternative medicine, which is actually just the ancient medicine, the true medicine, effective sovereignty, resource sovereignty, respect for the Second Amendment. Again, this Supreme Court will go forward no matter what happens to Trump. And I believe that, Trump was still on a good track for re-election. I guess lots of the betting odds were swinging for Biden with the news last night. So I think it's time to seize the day and place a bet on Trump's victory. Now, especially that the odds are probably flipped in the in the inverse and expecting, because that's when I'll make some money, actually, right? When nobody expects it to happen. I should have done it 4 years ago and I missed out. But we will see. So that's my video today. Yeah, let me know what you guys think about the situation. And yeah, basically just stay healthy, stay safe, maintain your balance, because that's the other thing. When you're in constant fight or flight mode, you don't give your body to rest and relax and clean out the garbage, right? You have to understand that staying calm is absolutely essential to responding effectively. The person who will win the day is he who can remain calm even in the most insane and violent situations. Not calm in the sense of passive and inactive, but just calm in the sense of in the pure vibration of action, and not giving into illusory sort of distractions like fear and anxiety, right? Fear is the mind killer. I will not fear. And so that's my video today. Hope you guys are having a good one, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.